This sounds like a normal immigration discussion until fraud gets brought up. Then obviously everything changes.
The temporary protected status of Somalians living in the state of Minnesota. The secretary, Noam, has to actually do that, officially begin that process and handle that job. But when that does happen, is ICE going to be going into what's called Little Mogadishu there on the southeast side of Minneapolis?
The what?
Hey, Rob. Good seeing you again. Thanks for having me. Yeah, so, ICE, obviously, we enforce the laws the way they're written, right? And so if someone's temporary protective status is lifted, which it's happened many a times to different various countries and nationalities,
right.
But we're ready to take action, and that's what we do, right? When someone's temporary protective status is lifted, they are now illegal aliens. They're here in the country illegally, and we will go ahead and remove those criminal elements out of our neighborhoods.
What was your reaction when you saw the details of the fraud inside of this community and just surreal what we've brought into our country?
One thing for me, Rob, is the fact that when you think about what TPS is actually created for, right? What the asylum process is created for. When you think about how many people take advantage of that, when there are so many individuals that want to come to the United States for a better life, yet there's so many people that criminally come here and use fraud or other fraudulent means to enjoy the American dream. It takes away from those individuals that really want to be here lawfully, right?
It does.
So we do have to remove those elements out of here. And if temporary protective status is lifted for the Somali community, whether it's Minneapolis, could be Philadelphia, could be anywhere, we're going to go ahead and remove those elements out of our country, because at that point, especially the game here under false pretenses, that's what ICE does as a law enforcement mission. We have to ensure that we remove those people from our communities.
Yeah. Joseph Edlow from USCIS here discussing an investigation that they had into Minneapolis and St. Paul levels of fraud in those two twin cities. Take a listen.
Let's hear it.
Our officers encountered blatant marriage fraud, visa overstays, people claiming to work at businesses that can't be found, forged documents, abuse of the H-1B visa system, abuse of the F-1 visas, and many other discrepancies.
When it comes down to the H-1B visa, it's interesting here. I've never been against it, but I do also know at the same time, within the same breath here, it is rife with fraud. But the problem here is there are industries that basically survive off of it. It would be amazing to get Americans onto the fields to specifically go and pick the fruit and things like this here. But the issue is that the agriculture sector has been trying to do this for a really long time. The problem is the pay is terrible. And I mean really, really bad here, guys. Understand this also does sound like slave labor, and that's not really that's not a good thing at all. All right. But if you do not want your bananas, let's say, right, to be $57, you probably shouldn't cut off specifically H-1B in the agriculture sector, mainly.
Over the course of the operation, our officers found indication of fraud, non-compliance, or public safety and national security concerns in nearly a little less than 50% of the cases interviewed.
Wow.
If you run into people like that, is that pretty much a slam dunk? They're out of the country? How does it work?
No, for us, that is a slam dunk, right? Yeah. If we've already had and done our due diligence and we prove the fact that you came here under false pretenses, 100% we're going to remove you. And, Joe made a great point. When you think of the national security threats of, individuals that came here with fraud, they may have come here to enjoy the American dream, but time and time again, I always say ICE was an organization born out of 9/11. They came, 9/11 terrorists came here under fraud pretense anyways, right? So you don't know who the people were letting in. We have to make sure we do our due diligence, go back, look at the ones we let under the last administration. And again, so many people have used fraud in fraudulent circumstances to obtain something that so many people want, to be here in the United States.
Yeah, this is going to sound like a clever question, but he said marriage fraud was one of the first things that he mentioned, which I've heard is rampant in the Somali community. Yeah. Is anybody immune from that? Well, if there was a congresswoman or somebody that's very important that had committed that, are they immune from this?
What?
No, Rob, nobody's immune from it. We have to look at every case by case. And if fraudulent means were gained or used to gain a benefit, then we have to take all our due diligence. We have to look at it criminally, administratively, and we have to take action on all those cases. No one's immune.
Absolutely. The Border Czar Tom Homan joins us tonight to talk about Minnesota.
Guys, and understand, like right now, JD Vance is going super, super, super hard, all right, at Ilhan Omar, kind of regarding this entire thing here. But I'm sure we'll find out what's true or what's not, kind of going forward at some time.
As well as a number of other issues. And sir, it's good to have you back on the show. Trump mentioning the Daily Mail reporting from 2020 that Ilhan Omar married her brother to get into the country. This was last week. Take a listen.
Look at their nation. Look how bad their nation is. It's not even a nation. It's just people walking around killing each other. They've taken billions and billions of dollars. They have a representative, Ilhan Omar, who they say married her brother. It's a fraud.
Calls that a fraud. It's a story that has never been successfully refuted, even though it's now a 5-year-old story. That's clearly a deportable offense. Is there an investigation into that?
You know, I just got advised by a fraud investigator the other day on that. I asked the question, who reviewed the file and says, there was immigration fraud involved. The statute of limitations became an issue in the last 4 years when this was first brought up. Who was president? Who ran DOJ? So pulling the records now, pulling the files, and we're looking at, but this fraud investigator, who I know personally, one of the best fraud investigators in HSI, Homeland Security Investigations, said there's no doubt he reviewed the file. So I'm running that down this week, matter of fact, and we'll see.
It's tremendous that, I mean, and according to the Secretary, Kristi Noem of DHS, she said nearly 50% of the visas are fraudulent in this community. I mean, that would mean that half the Somali refugees are here in some way illegally. What's going to happen? Is something's actually going to happen? Are there going to be people stripped of their visas, deported? Are we going to see that?
Absolutely. I mean, those days are over. Thank God President Trump's in the White House. We're going to look at all of them. I mean, we're going to look at those here illegally. Of course, we're going to look at those here under a visa or some sort of, immigration process that are criminals. We're going to look at the national security threats. But those who came through a process that weren't properly vetted, who didn't provide documentation, who slipped through the Biden's weak processes on, giving visas and temporary, whether student visas or visitors visas or whatever. We're going the whole gamut. President Trump has instructed us go down and we're going to deep dive all of this. And we're going to hold people accountable. So yes, there are going to be multiple deportations coming. Absolutely.
There's so many claims of a racist element to this story, and when we're talking about a certain subsection of refugees into this country, but it bears reminding to people that it wasn't very long ago at all that Americans expected that people that came to our country would contribute to the cause, would assimilate to our culture and to who we are. And we're just not seeing that at all in this community. We're seeing a community that's largely hostile to our culture, wants to bring in an Islamic culture into our nation, while doing so and staying vastly on the dole, on some kind of assistance, taking more than they contribute. Knowing all of that, here's Ilhan Omar on our immigration system under this president and the job that you're doing.
Let's hear it right now. Let's do it.
This is certainly not what the founding fathers of the American dream were thinking about when they said, that when they set out to write the Constitution.
So lately, you guys have been sending me a gigantic amount of Ilhan Omar related videos and content, and I'm just like, guys, listen, if she is in fact as bad as everyone is saying here, understand this here, I don't know her. All right, so I generally don't give full-blown opinions until I actually know something concrete here. But just be fully aware here. Who's keeping her in power if all of this is true, right? Who is doing this? How is that a thing that is plausible? If you married your brother under false pretenses just to basically get some type of citizenship of sorts, I would suspect that would be incredibly easy to prove. All right. That would be the easiest thing to prove pretty much on earth because, listen, America loves paperwork. Okay, find the person and find out if that's the brother or not. Now, I do agree, though. I do fully agree with the statement of there is a lot of fraud. There is a lot of literal nonsense kind of within the system. Not even the TPS system alone here, just the asylum processes and the refugee, all of these things have fraud in it. There are a lot of people around the world that are living in countries where they're not even making more than $1,000 in a year. Okay, they see see the United States of America and basically how much we waste on Starbucks, right? And they're just like, hey guys, listen, what if we do whatever is needed to basically get into the United States of America? Because, hey, listen, the left has a gigantic, he called it the dole here, but a gigantic, entitlement program that we can basically just get on here. Because of the color of our skin, they can say nothing about it. Right? That's kind of what it feels like. That's kind of what it looks like is happening. Right? Like, that's just what it feels like. Period. And I never understood this here. And the one thing I would do immediately, okay, is make it so people cannot live indefinitely on government assistance. I don't care. There are certain circumstances where it becomes just a humanitarian type of thing. And I'm completely fine with the idea of elderly, specifically like seniors. If they need to be on it, go for it, guys. You lived your life. You gave something to the country. If that makes any sense here. Or if you're under 18, like I don't think kids should be hungry, guys. Right? I'm cold, but I'm not that cold, guys. Right? But if you are from the age specifically here of 19 to 64. I'm sorry, bro, you got to work, okay? And if I need to help you out occasionally, I'll go ahead and do that, but it's not going to be something indefinite. And I'm talking about maybe 90 days every 7 years. You're going to have to figure something out, because I do think that when people are pushed to their literal bottom is when they generally have the biggest kind of drive and push to succeed and make themselves successful and worth something to the society, so they're not just consistent drains on the tax bases. All right, because you know how it looks as like a taxpayer, someone who pays a stupid amount of money in taxes. Okay, not just private taxes, but like also corporate taxes. Okay, and then to look and be like, oh wait, hold on. So you're saying I can stop working now indefinitely, and the government will just take care of me in terms of like food and things and like housing. They'll do that, and I don't have to work. Oh, that's the life, guys. Nah, bro, get off of that. Stop that immediately. Nope. Listen, 90 days every 7 years. Leave it like that. I understand that there are like extraordinary circumstances, and I'm not talking about super extraordinary circumstances. And I definitely look into disability also. All right, it's not just foreigners taking advantage of America. It's Americans taking advantage of Americans. Like, it is everyone taking advantage of America. America is like a honeypot, guys. All right, for the world, and Americans are doing it just the same. Okay, but it hurts more. In fact, when someone who has never paid into the tax bases, not federal taxes, local taxes is one thing, right? But they've never actually had to pay these stupid taxes. Okay, understand this here. And these individuals are coming in and basically getting on our entitlements and utilizing our tax funds while saying we're never going to assimilate. I don't like your culture. Your culture makes me, I don't know, gag. Right? Bro, why are you here then? If you don't like our culture, it's the craziest thing in the world here. Right? Like, I don't like the idea of like little anything. Okay. When you are a refugee coming into the United States of America, the smart play for the government to do is to separate everyone. Do not allow these enclaves to happen here because they're never going to assimilate to our culture, bro. Never, right? Exactly what made them want to come here is what is eroding on a daily basis if it's not being maintained, because now we're split into all of these different subsections of like, I don't know, cultural identities. Guys, what is this? All right. I'm just a random on the internet. I know. Who am I to talk like this? Guys, I'm just someone with an opinion. All right. And my opinion is this all needs to get rectified immediately. All right. But all right, listen, you guys all have an absolutely amazing day. If you guys are new here, please like and subscribe. And in the meantime, I'll catch you guys later.